Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So for today's video, I'm going to be discussing all the books that I read in the month of December. Jumping right in with statistics, I read 6 books. I read 4 romances, 1 dystopian, 1 thriller. I read a total of 1,759 pages, and my average rating was a 3.25 stars. Now, you will understand why my average rating was so low once we get further into the month. But we're going to start out with The Housemaid by Freida McFadden. The Housemaid is about a maid, and she is working at this rich family's home. In the family, there is Nina, the wife, Andrew, the husband, and then Cecilia, who is the daughter. Now, Millie, our main character, is working as their maid. Nina is very interesting, to say the least. She always contradicts herself. So if she wants Millie to do something, she'll tell her to do it, and then right after, she'll say, I didn't ask you to do that. So it's very interesting the way Nina's brain works. And Andrew, the husband, is slowly starting to take a liking to Millie because of how Nina is treating her. So this goes on for a good portion of the book, and then everything is just turns insane. Like, when I tell you, I was not expecting the ending of this book whatsoever. I had at least 4 different theories down in my notes app trying to figure out which could be which, and none of them were right. And I think that's great about a thriller because you physically cannot anticipate what is happening. Like, there's no way. So this was crazy. This was insane. I'm gonna rate The Housemaid a 3.75. I originally had it as a 4 stars, but I feel like I haven't really thought about it. I haven't really longed for being in this book. So I feel like the rating just kind of had to go down a little bit. So it's at a 3.75, but it was still fantastic. I loved this book. I literally sat down, finished this book. I finished 50% of this book in, I want to say, a day, because it was so good. And towards the end, I was on the edge of my seat, patiently waiting. I was like, what is happening? If you want a thriller that is genuinely going to put you on the edge of your seat, this is definitely for you. I would say it's a little bit slow in the beginning towards the middle because it just kind of gets repetitive at points, but there's one certain spot where something happens and then immediately everything changes. So you kind of just have to wait until that point, and it's really not too long because the book is only 300 something pages, so it's pretty short. So once you get to the middle of the book, you're like, okay, let's go now. But then immediately it gets to the good point. So yeah, 3.75 stars. I really liked it, and I definitely recommend for a good thriller. The next book I read was Fracture Me, which is a novella in a novella in the Shatter Me series. So basically you have Unite Me, which comes after Unravel Me, which is a novella. But in this novella, there's 2 different novellas. So you read the first novella after Shatter Me, and then you read the second novella after Unravel Me. So I read the second novella, which is Fracture Me. So Fracture Me is in a certain character's point of view who, okay, we're not even talking about that person, okay? But there was nothing to it, so I'm rating it a 2 stars. I literally couldn't even tell you. Actually, no, I could tell you everything that happened in that novella, but obviously I'm not going to. But it just didn't really do anything. But it was in another character's point of view who we're starting to kind of dislike throughout the series. So I'm rating it a 2. It was just this character's point of view giving their side of the story of what had happened in Unravel Me and how this person feels about the end of Unravel Me, basically, is what this book is about. Next, I read My December Darling by Lauren Asher. This is her new, Christmas release, and I actually really enjoyed it. It was a little novella, so it was only 200, 300 something pages. Oh my god, my foot's falling asleep. The book is about Catalina and Luke. Catalina recently broke up with her sister's fiance. So basically, her sister started dating her ex-boyfriend, and that ex-boyfriend has a best friend named Luke. So the ex-boyfriend starts bringing Luke along with Catalina and her sister to everything, and so you kind of see where that can cross. Now, of course, because it's a novella, everything is going to go by so unbelievably quickly. There was times where they were having important conversations in the book, and it was just cut so short, and there was so much other stuff that they could have said or mentioned, but they didn't because the book was so short. And I would have loved for that to be so much longer because it probably would have gotten a higher rating from me, but because it was so short and because conversations that were very important were cut short, it was kind of just left hanging with most conversations. Luke and Catalina were literally so cute though. I'm literally obsessed with their relationship. So they're both doctors, or I think Catalina is a nurse and he's a doctor, something like that. But they both work in the medical field in the same hospital, which I love. Personally, I love Grey's Anatomy. It's like one of my favorite shows ever. And in the beginning of this book, in the dedication, she literally said to all the McDreamy and McSteamy fans, meet Dr. Darling. And as soon as I saw that, I literally was like, oh my god, you're kidding me. That is great. So Catalina is a traveling nurse. So she's going everywhere, right? And Mr. Dr. Darling is staying here right where he is. So of course, because she's a traveling nurse, because she has to leave soon, he is trying to get her to stay where they are. This reminds me very much of Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. Again, because she was also a traveling nurse in that book and he was also trying to get her to stay. So it kind of just reminded me of Just for the Summer while I was reading that. If you watched my doing Christmas stuff video or like getting in the holiday spirit video, you would have saw that I also said that in that video as well. And if you want to see me actually reading this book, then you could go check out that video because I did a little reading vlog in that. So I'm gonna be reading My December Darling a 3 stars. It was really good. Again, it was a novella, so there wasn't really much to it, but it was really good. It was really sweet, and I loved the little Lego aspect that they had. It was so cute, and I felt like it kind of like tied the two characters together because it was both of their interests, and it literally, oh, it was so cute. I loved it. So if you're still looking for a cute Christmas book, this is definitely one for you. After I read My December Darling, I read none other than Saving Six by Chloe Walsh. This is Joey and Aoife's book. Joey is Shannon's older brother. Joey and Aoife really just did something for me. When I tell you, Johnny and Shannon will always have my heart, literally always, but Joey and Aoife just have this like different connection that Johnny and Shannon don't have. If you read the book, you kind of like understand what I'm talking about, but there's like something with Joey and Aoife that makes me want to bawl my eyes out every single time that I think about them. Saving Six is very much heavy, so Joey and Aoife's stories are just very heavy because obviously Johnny and Shannon, you know what they went through if you read Binding and Keeping 13. You know what mainly Shannon went through. So obviously as Shannon's older brother, you know what Joey also went through, but there's so much more on his part that happened. It weighs much heavier on Joey, and you kind of see that in these books. And then Aoife, there's not as much trauma as there was on Joey's part, but there's still like this hanging, nagging thing. Great way to describe it. That is in Aoife's life in this book that she's trying to get out. There were some points in this book, I'm gonna be completely honest. Now, this is not a spoiler, don't worry, but she was trying to get Joey to stay at her house, but Joey had to go back to his house. So I'm trying to like, this is like the best way to describe it without, what is this? Without spoiling anything. But she was trying to get him to stay at her house, but he needed to go back to his house. So she pushed him to stay at her house. If you haven't read the book, you're gonna be like, what? That doesn't make any sense. If you've read Keeping and Binding 13, then you definitely know what I'm talking about. If you haven't read any of the books, you're gonna be like, Gianna, what are you talking about? If you know, you know. And I was kind of like, what? Like, why? But then it like took me a second and I was like, okay. Like it clicked. And I was like, that makes more sense now. It's actually okay, and I'm not mad at Aoife. But I was, for a second there, I was like, whoa, hold on, guys, what's going on here? But then it clicked. So if you're looking for like a very emotional and heavy book, I 100% suggest Saving Six, but you do have to read Binding and Keeping 13 first. Of course, I'm rating Saving Six a 5 stars. It was fantastic. I'm currently reading Redeeming Six now, and it literally jumps right in, which I love about these books as well, because once you go from Binding 13, immediately, same exact time you go to Keeping 13, it's exact like lines, like literally the exact lines that you ended on Binding 13 is the exact lines you start on Keeping 13, which I love about these books. It's literally perfect. Of course, Joey Lynch is my favorite. I love him. I love Aoife. She's my queen, and I'm so excited to see Johnny, Joey, and Gibbsy's relationship because I keep seeing TikToks pop up on my For You page, and it's like it's Joey, Johnny, and Gibbsy, and they're all together. And it's like, oh, the best trio, like best friends. But we kind of only got a little bit of that in Keeping 13. So I'm patiently waiting because Saving Six goes back all the way. Like, Saving Six is when Shannon is like 10. Like, that's when it starts. There's a big window for Saving Six as well, which is another thing I wanted to mention, is that this book is like all of their middle school and high school years. But anyway, fantastic book, fantastic series. You have to read the series if you haven't already, but you have to start out with Binding 13. The next book I read was Dear Santa, Send Me a Cowboy. I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys. This is my fault. This is my fault because I didn't look at the description of the book. I saw Santa, Christmas, I love the Christmas time, and cowboys. I love cowboys. So I immediately clicked on it, didn't read the description. So it's my fault. It's really my fault. This book takes place, I want to say, over the span of 13 hours. But it's a novella. It's like 100 and a few pages. Maybe 150 or something. But it takes place over the span of like 13 hours, and it is literally a one-night stand. The entire book is spice. Literally 30%, I think it was 32, I saw 32% to literally 90% is all spice. All spice. I was genuinely struggling through this book because I was not expecting that. Like the first, like 30 pages or so were like good. Like I was like, oh, like this is going good. Like I'm excited to see where this is gonna go. And then like immediately something happens. I'm like, whoa, we just met like 10 minutes ago. What are you guys doing? So that's basically just sums up the whole story. I'm rating it a 1.5. It was, you guys know, I never rate anything under 2 stars. It just seems so disrespectful to me to rate anything under 2 stars for an author that puts in that much like time and effort to a book. But when I tell you, if this book was written like gorgeously, fantastically, if you will, then I probably would have rated it 2 stars. In some books, when a guy is talking a specific way, then like sometimes it's okay when you've known the guy for a while. But if you've just met this man and he is talking like that to you, it made me want to throw up. I was cringing while reading this book because of the things this man was saying. We just met him 20 pages ago, and he's calling you all these names. Like, what? No! I'm rating it a 1.5 because I didn't like it, and I do not recommend this book. Next, I read Reckless by Elsie Silver. The 2 main characters in this book are Theo and Winter. Winter is Summer's sister. So funny. I know, I literally love that. And Theo is being trained by Rhett for bull riding. So both the characters from the first book, Flawless, are like related to the people in this book, and that's how the entire series goes, if you were wondering. So they're all interconnected. You see all of the characters from the other books in this book, and so on with all the rest of the books. This is the 4th book in the Chestnut Spring series. The Chestnut Spring series is so amazing. Obviously, you know I love cowboys. I fear Theo might be my favorite man. Winter is not, though. Winter kind of pissed me off towards the end of the book, I'm not gonna lie. But Theo is 100% my favorite man, but Heartless will always be my favorite book. Always. Even if Hopeless is like fantastic and amazing, Heartless will forever be my favorite. But Bo Eaton, the man you are. I'm excited for Bo. I've always been excited for Bo's book. Anyway, we're getting off track. Reckless has 2 tropes that I don't absolutely despise, but I don't like, and I don't read. So for them to both be put into one book and me not rate it a 2 stars is great. It's absolutely fantastic. Miss Elsie Silver knows how to pull off these 2 tropes, and I don't want to say it. I'm not going to say one. I'm going to say the other. The first one is unexpected pregnancy. There's a lot of controversy around that trope because a lot of people don't like it, and it just can't really be pulled off well, but Miss Elsie Silver did. Miss Elsie Silver pulled it off. It was really good, honestly. Without spoiling it, I was expecting something to last the entire book, but it did not last the entire book. It lasted like 40% of the book, and I was confused as to how the rest of the book was gonna go because this something only lasted that short period of time. So I was very surprised though, because again, Miss Elsie Silver pulled it off. Another thing that was just very interesting to me in this book was Winter's husband, Rob. He had a thing with Summer, Winter's sister, a while ago. So that was all resolved in Flawless though. So if you read Flawless, like that's all resolved on Summer's behalf. but once we get to winter, it kind of gets a little bit more complicated with her and her husband. And obviously, Rob is not the male main character in this book, so obviously they don't get back together. Hello? The book literally starts with her leaving her husband. She's like, I'm not talking to you anymore, goodbye. So she goes to work at the Chestnut Springs Hospital, where she's a doctor. And so a one-night stand leads to an accidental pregnancy. And so, yeah. I'm rating Reckless A at 4.25 stars. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of bored for a little bit of this book, and I was not expecting it because a lot of people are literally obsessed with this book, and it's like one of their favorites in the whole series. And like, I'm probably gonna say that this is maybe my third favorite so far. So I want to say my ranking so far is Heartless, of course, Flawless, Reckless, and then Powerless. I didn't really like Powerless, I'm not gonna lie. But I still have Hopeless to go, and that is, again, a lot of people's favorite. Plus, it's Beau. I literally love Beau with all of my heart, so I'm so excited to read his. But, I don't know, I feel like this kind of didn't fall short, but it wasn't as I anticipated it would be, or as, like, crazy as it would be. But it was so sweet. I really loved it, and I loved Theo. I loved how he handled all the situations. It really, like, it was just baffling to me that a man could handle a situation like he did. Genuinely, it baffles me. But I feel like Winter and Theo were literally made for each other. Like, they're literally perfect for each other, and I love them so much together. So that's so cute. 4.25 stars for Reckless. So that is going to be the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked it, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that fun YouTube stuff, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.